I just should. You're gonna feel like it must be. Just to go.
All right, everybody, can you hear me?
Nope.
All right, how about now? Better?
Yeah.
All right.
That's weird.
Okay, Doc. Thank you for coming. It's so nice to see everybody this morning. I'm here. Yeah, I pressed play. I am here to introduce Denny. I think most of us know him, but this is Dennis Quintal, Denny, lifelong resident of East Kingston and chair of the East Kingston Conservation Commission, and the one we're going to be directing all of our questions to because we have a lot. I do want to mention we are recording. Only up here is visible. But when you have a question, if you have a question, please just make sure to say it loud so we can try to get that captured. But I think that's it. So enjoy.
Do I need to use a microphone?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, use the mic.
Use the microphone?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
A little bit better.
Well, thank you all for coming. I didn't think anybody would show up.
Well, we can leave.
Well, you might after 5 minutes. I want to know. Okay, well, thank you for the library people for letting us use this facility. We're so lucky to have this place and be able to meet like this. And I think we're very lucky, East Kingston, to have a place like this and to have good people in town to be able to come to events like this and share some thoughts and answer questions and knowledge, and at the same time learn a little bit of history. So how many people have been in town more than 25 years? Some. How about 10 years? So a lot of people have been here for a while, but not everybody has been here beyond that. So I think it's important maybe just to have a little bit of history. I can remember when I was growing up, the town had, it wouldn't be uncommon to see cows and horses and farms that were established. This was back in the 1960s, early 70s. And I think that there's certainly changes that have taken place in this town, same as other towns. We've had some growth. We've seen some increase in population, which is a good thing. I can remember I went to the Pound School, first and second grade, and I went to Brown's Academy, which is the town office now. Third and fourth grade was downstairs, and fifth and sixth grade was upstairs. And so things have changed. I can remember back then that there was a want for, oh, well, you know what, we can't afford it, but it'd be nice to get a new fire truck. Well, there was lobbying for that because we used to have town meetings, regular town meetings at the town hall, Grange Hall, and they were pretty lively, put it mildly. There was a lot of people that wanted things. There was a question of a want versus a need. Do we absolutely need it? All my taxes are high, and we got to keep the taxes down. And we've been fortunate to have a lot of intelligent selectmen, planning board people to be able to look ahead. Their terms are 3 years, 5 years, 6 years sometimes. So they look at during those times as the times that they need to function and be able to keep taxes in place and see what the town needs are for that period of time. So I grew up in town, and my younger years, I actually worked, teenage years, I worked at the chicken farm, which used to be, it's the Morrison supply company right now. And it was a chicken farm at that point in time, and worked there as a teenager. So we used to be able to, days like today, ride our bike or walk to school. So town center was important. We lived in town, we were town center, and we could walk to school or ride our bikes. A little tough to do nowadays with an increase in traffic and whatever. I went on to work my younger years, construction work. And I'm only talking a little bit about this because you don't know me very well. And so a little bit of history about me, because you're saying, who is this guy anyways? Well, so I started out working construction work, running heavy equipment and building things, building roads and site plans, seeing things develop. And that gave me motivation to go back to school. And with the help of my wife and my family, we were able to get through school and be able to get a degree in civil engineering. So during that time, I was able to join the Conservation Commission, and kind of a conflict, because here I am as an engineer trying to design projects and get things built. But at the same time, I'm a Conservation Commission individual, and I'm looking at trying to conserve things the way they are and keep things the way they are, keep the rural character of the town, keep things the way they are. But if they have to be done, they have to be developed, do it correctly. So over the years, there's been some development in town, and I've seen like the fire station, new trucks and whatever. We had a need and a want for a police department. So we had the police, which used to be in part of the fire station building. We got a new police department in town. The school, got a new school during my lifetime. So we got a new school at that time. Town offices got built in Brown's Academy. Got a library, which is pretty neat. So when you think about development over time, and you think about the wants and the needs of the community, you start to think that, well, you know what? I've seen quite a bit of things that have improved over the years, and not just over a 3 or 5 year period. So long-term planning is important, and developing a town and where we're going for the future is certainly important. So along comes a fellow named Carl Jonan, who happened to move into town, into the Mapleville development, and apparently didn't have much of a family at the time, and what happened with him and his estate after his passing, he wound up leaving his financial assets to the town. Some money went to the church. Some money went for improvements to the depot and the town hall. And the important factor of that was to keep rural character of the town, because he moved into town and he thought that, you know, this is a neat little town and we need to maintain the center district of the town, and earmarked this information for or his assets for development of improving the buildings and improving the areas and land area and having land for development in town. So I got a call from Carrie Marshall, who was in charge of the funds. We had a meeting, and we talked about the needs of these buildings, and we decided the first things we ought to do is have an engineering structural analysis of the buildings to find out what the status is of them existing and what really needs to be done, to come up with a priority list of first things to do. So focusing on the town Grange Hall at that time, the roof was leaking pretty bad. Over the years, we didn't have much of a need for it because we had our town meetings at the school, town offices built up there, and the building was kind of left without any care. So having the roof leaked and it being shut down for use because of poor electricity, poor insulation, bathrooms not really adequate at all, as you recall. But I do remember we used to have ham and bean suppers there, and it was pretty neat. to have the Grange put on ham and bean suppers, and I can remember it started at 5 o'clock. And at 4:45, there were lines right out to the door, right out to the street, ready to come in for their ham and bean suppers. So that was a pretty neat thing to see East Kingston involved, along with the lobster festivals we had in the past, whatever. So we don't need to talk too much more about that, but I think that we knew that being a town center would be something to maintain. And so the first thing that we thought we'd do to maintain the building would be to put a roof on it. So we had to put, we got hold of a company after we had this engineering analysis done of the building. We had a roof put on, and there was some structural work of the building that eventually needs to be fixed. Some of the supports in the attic, which is pretty neat to see the old beams and the old construction of the building. So we took a look at that and said, well, first step, let's put the roof on. Then we got together and we took a look at the building itself and said, well, you know what needs to be done? Well, there was a lot of stuff that had to be done to the building, but it was on an old stone or granite foundation. So we said, well, before we try to shape everything up and get it stable and structurally stable, we really need to have a good foundation. So most of it was a crawl space underneath the main part of the assembly hall, and the downstairs kitchen area, which was pretty old and dilapidated at the time, really wasn't worth saving. There was a lot of stuff in there that needed to be just thrown out. So we got some dumpsters, we took some time, we got together a committee and we got rid of a lot of stuff. We needed some stuff stored and preserved for historical features, structures. So we rented some of the units at the Ace storage unit across from the store. And so we were able to move a bunch of stuff in there that was worth saving, some antiques and so historical artifacts. So that was a good thing to do. At that point in time, we said, well, if we're going to put a foundation underneath it, we don't really have a good place to store stuff. Perhaps it'd be good if we're going to put a 4-foot foundation, is we might as well put a full foundation. And that way there, we probably have the ability to store a lot of our antiques, our documents and things like that. And so we contacted Emmanuel Engineering and had a foundation design created and said, well, this is going to be good. We'll be able to put a full foundation under the building and be able to pick the building up, put a new foundation under it, put the building back down. Well, to excavate for a foundation, you need to over excavate 5 feet or more. Well, 5 feet off the front of the building was the telephone pole. So we said, maybe the building can't be done right there, but if we moved it back a little bit, and then thinking about the lines of people that were trying to get into the building that were backed up into the street, we figured, moving it back, maybe 10 feet or more would be good. Well, we couldn't move it back much more than 10 feet because the fire department has their
fuel tanks.
the tanks are there, the fuel tanks, but there's also where they park their vehicles. They have another garage that comes out from west to east. So we couldn't go back too far with the building. So we figured 10 feet would be good. And at the same time, we took a look at its placement east to west, and where it was so narrow between the fire department, we were able to move it 6-7 feet easterly and still maintain our 25-foot setback from the property line, which put it more center in between the fire station and the property line, what we had to have. So that's what we did at that point in time. So we hired some local contractors to work with us. We were able to get a very reputable company that moves buildings. They were able to put cribbing underneath it, jack it up, move it back, get it back into place, excavate the whole cellar hole area. Fortunately, we didn't hit ledge. There were a few big rocks, but we were very lucky. We didn't hit ledge, which was a question mark. Soil came out, was pretty good. It was dry. We didn't have any water problems, which is always a concern when you're digging more than a deep cellar. So I think that we made out pretty well by doing that. Foundation was poured. We were looking at, well, what's the future for the use of the downstairs area under the assembly hall would be storage area, but in where the kitchen was underneath the stage area would be a good place for the bathrooms. So we said, well, we'll probably look at putting bathrooms downstairs coming in from the back, wheelchair access in from the back of the building, and then maybe have a chairlift in the corner to be able to have a chairlift to go up for ADA compliance, to go up to the first floor and to the stage area. This will maintain the stage, it'll maintain the assembly area, and still be able to utilize that area in the future for meetings. We have meetings now with the planning board and selectmen at the Pound School. Not really a lot of room when you have an event, you know, not only the places for people to sit, we have places like this, which is good, but parking is an issue there too. So we're thinking that between the 20 people that we can get into the Pound School for meetings versus utilizing the school, we figure that long-term best planning for the town, if we can fix this town hall Grange up for using again, we can probably have anywhere from 100 to 150 people at one time at a meeting. And look at long-term for the future, a lot more than, not more than 3 to 5 years. So we were fortunate enough too, that when we first were able to meet and talk about the funding for this project, we were able to receive information from the owner at the time. His name was Matt Davis, for the Morrison building, the old chicken barn, in-house, nice piece of property. And we knew that he was thinking about selling. And years ago, when the Brailsford owns that property, they put it up for sale. And at the time, there was a lot of discussion about, oh, maybe the town could buy that and obtain some land. Well, that didn't happen. But when I heard about Mr. Davis thinking about selling, it maybe be a good time to talk to him about obtaining some land for the town in the center of town. Long story short, we were able to negotiate with him. We were able to wind up purchasing 5.5 acres of land, which is right out behind the salt shed. A plan here to show that. You certainly can take a look at this later, but this is where the town hall is right now, and fire department, and the salt sheds here. We're able to keep a 55 foot access behind the salt shed, and this is a 5.5 acre piece that is fairly flat, all upland, all usable land. Future use of the town be terrific, fairly close to the center. And so we're very, very lucky to get that. And funding for that was done by the estate, and so it didn't cost the town any money. So here we are with the building on a foundation. The roof has been fixed. We may have to do some more with it in the future with moving things around. Where do we go from here? Well, we still have funds available to continue on construction. We need to reinforce some of the beams in the attic area to make sure that the building is structurally sound according to the structural engineering report. We do have to, at this point in time, we're trying to figure out the next steps for us to do, which would be to finish off the back of the building. We had Bob Hanscom put some granite attachments to the foundation, so it doesn't look like a concrete foundation. It looks more like granite, and as it weathers in, it will hopefully look more like natural. And the downstairs area that's basically plywood now. We're looking at putting windows and doors and siding on that. Hopefully get that done this year. The foundation is in place, but the supports for the interior of the framing for the support needs to be done. And those supports need to be put in place prior to do any other structural work with the building. So we need to cement the floor and solid. So we're hoping to do that stuff fairly soon. We have the funds to do that, I think, and we'll continue on with work as we have funds for the future. What needs to be done to make it usable will be a new heating system. We'll need to have insulation. We'll need to have new wiring, interior work for wallboard or whatever that needs to be put on that. And of course, front steps. So those are the things that needed to be done soon, and things that maybe would take years to get to. And it all depends on funding. But looking at long term, you say, well, okay, yeah, you fix that building up, and yeah, you could put maybe 100, 150 people in. Where are they going to park? That's one of your questions. Now, where are they going to park?
Yeah.
Well, you know, right now the fire department has their events there, and they have probably room for 10 or 20 cars, maybe, in the back of the building. Long-term planning, we know that what's left in the town that is a need, not just a want, but a need, is a new fire station. So there really isn't land enough right in that front area where the town hall and the fire department are to put a new fire station the way that we want it. I did get a sketch for East Kingston Fire Station for the future. So we have that. We certainly can look at that. If anybody wants a copy, you can. But it certainly wouldn't fit there. But it certainly would fit on this 5-acre piece.
Yeah, and we'd still be in the center of town.
And still be in the center of town. So that's a good thing. That's what we're looking at doing. In looking at the 5-acre piece of land, there's room out there to put more than just a fire station there. We'll have need to access through where the salt shed is. So there'll be a need to relocate the salt shed. And at the same time, we're looking at probably long-term or fairly new in the future of having highway department, having a town backhoe, town truck to maintain the roads. Need more than one person, so you're probably going to have at least one full-time and maybe 1 or 2 part-time people. So we have room enough to put that out there. The other thing in looking at and vision for the future, long-term planning with this piece of property. Yeah, okay, so it's going to take time. It's going to take time to get that stuff done. It's going to take funding to get that stuff done. But I think back in my lifetime and said, you know, we didn't have a lot of money in taxes. We had to keep our taxes down, but golly, we've had a new library. We've had a new police department. We've had, you know, town offices built. We've had work done on these buildings. And I think that, you know, to look a little bit beyond a 3 to 5 year period is not a bad thing to think about. And so when I'm looking at, you know, 50 years down the road, I'll be dust, but at that point in time, there'll be another group of people like this that'll say, good golly, these people in East Kingston had a good vision for the future and keeping this town center the way it should be. And the reason why people want to live in East Kingston is because of these features. And so in looking at that, I actually took a look at future plan for that 5-acre piece. here's where the salt shed is now, and the town building's here. So if we were to access the property, as the railroad is here, there's room enough for the fire department, parking area for the fire department, septic system, proposed well, an access road to get out into the back area. We can have a salt shed in a town garage out in this area. We could have room enough for a ball field, soccer field, the depot. Oh, what are we gonna do with the depot? Everybody says, well, you can't do much. There's not much land there. Well, you know what? I'd like to see the depot saved. I'd like to see it preserved. I'd like to see it used.
Yeah.
It's a nice building. It's
Yeah.
antique and it's, you know, it's history of the town. How about if we were to move that building out here, create a little spot right near the railroad tracks, put all of our antiques in there, put all of our memorabilia in the town, and have a little parking area where it's a town museum, and say, you know what, on the weekends, we can have volunteer there collecting $5 a head to come in and take a look at our town historical building. Wouldn't that be a neat thing to do? So, you know what, this is concept, you know, it's just something that you can think about and say, where are we going in the future? Where's the town of East Kingston going to be 50 years from now? And so if we don't start planning now for long-term down the road, what are we going to do? So over the years, where I've seen work being done in the area, I've seen a lot of builders and developers that I've worked with. And one of the first things they say is, oh, I've got this piece of land and I want to develop it, but I have to buy this other piece first, and I have to buy that other piece first, and I'm putting this together, and here's my master plan, long-term development. So, man, I think about that and I say, why can't the towns do stuff like that? And a lot of towns do. Why can't East Kingston do that? And I think we can. I think we can. I think we just need to have some input, and we need to have plans for the future like this. And part of it is taking care of the town hall. And so I think that we're on a path now where we will be able to have a usable building that is in between the capacity of our pound school and our school assembly hall, gymnasium. So I think East Kingston has a good path for the future. And so with support and financing, how we finance it in the future, I don't know. How do we finance the new police department? How do we finance this building? It got done. Got done somehow.
You could ask. this
Yeah,
about
right. Thank you, Ted. And your people that worked around you and the staff we have, tremendous. I'm so lucky to have grown up in East Kingston. I never wanted to move away. My family's here and I'm very happy about that. And a lot of other families stay in town.
Yes.
Why do you stay in town? It's a great place to be, you know? And so when I think about when we used to go to the church or something like that for back when I was just a kid growing up, and we used to go up to the fence and all the white turkeys were out there, and we'd talk to them, we'd gobble, and they would all gobble all at once. And so I think about stuff like that and saying, what a neat thing to do. What a neat thing to be in East Kingston and have memories like that. And hopefully that everybody else that lives in East Kingston will have these memories. And so I don't know how much more to say about that or how much more detail that's needed, but that's taking about a half an hour of your time. So maybe I can answer some questions.
Can I ask a quick question?
Michelle.
Well, I'm just curious, you're choosing to devote a rather large, for a town this size, a rather large amount of money to a rather small capacity-wise building. So I'm just wondering, is there some kind of significant historical aspect of this that I'm missing? other than bean dinners? I mean, I know it was probably the center of the town, that's where everyone met for all their meetings, the town meetings and stuff like that. But beyond that, you're directing a lot of financial resources towards a rather small and very decrepit building.
Well, then that's true. There's a lot of people that think that that's not the best thing to do. We had,
Convince me.
we had, do the best I can, but I'm
Haunted
only one
houses.
individual.
Yeah, we had haunted houses, the YMCA had like a bunch of things that they did there,
Slaves,
slaves. I mean, we like, I don't know, I grew up in town, like he kind of pointed at me like, you know, townie, but like, I loved that building. Like, it was the place where all the like kids used to hang
Well,
out.
if it was so wonderful, why did the town let it go to pot? Like
Who
that?
knows? There was the adults.
It's a dump. Yeah,
The
you know,
adults are the ones who did it.
Well, it's in very bad
Yeah,
shape.
if you look, and
From
you know,
what you
we've
just
had,
described, it's in very, very bad shape.
we've had a lot of good, and I'm very proud of the fact that East Kingston had a lot of intelligent selectmen in town and planning board people. But their vision is 2 or 3 years down the road, and the primary vision is keeping the taxes down. And you won't complain.
In every
about that.
town, that's every.
You won't complain about that. And so their vision at that point in time was to hold taxes down and look at the day to day, week to week, month to month. How can we keep things going in the town and have funds available to keep the town operational without spending money where, even though it might be necessary, but it doesn't get done. And so for one reason or another, the town hall was not
It was
maintained.
neglected.
It was neglected. Was there a want to keep it? Yeah, there was a want for everybody to keep it. You look at all the old pictures in town. Look at the history of the town. You look at the old pictures in town. What do you see? Out of every 10 or 15 pictures, it's the town hall. Okay, it's part of history. And so I think that that's what Mr. Jonan saw in the town. And I think that that's where he took the initiative to take his funds and said, you know what? I'd like to maintain this character of this town. I'd like to maintain the buildings in this town. How can I do that? Money to the church, money to the depot, and earmarked for these things, earmarked for the structure of that building to keep it in place and keep it maintained in the center of town. I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if it's satisfying to you, but we still have funds to keep that building in its place, to have it look from the exterior that it's maintained. If we can do that, to me, I think that's a win. If we can utilize it in 10 years or 20 years from now as a meeting hall for the selectmen, for the planning board. So we've outgrown the Pound School as a meeting place, and we can't always go to the.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a need for a unified place for people to meet. But your description of the capacity sounds, you said between Pound School and the elementary school. Okay, that's, you know, in between that size. Okay, that can accommodate some functions and stuff like that, but.
We can use up to 200 people in that building, so.
But there's not enough
That's
parking right now.
Exactly, and that's the question that you
Yeah,
have.
there's
Okay,
not-
so we don't have parking. So here's what you do. Our goal here is to utilize this land here. When the fire department is moved out here, now we have some room for parking.
Is that
So-
adequate for 200 people or 200 cars or 150?
Well, we still have to work on that, okay?
Yeah.
Is it viable? Yeah, it's viable for maybe an 80-90% of the use of the building. Maybe once in a while, we have an event, then there's parking across the street in Foss Field.
Field,
Uh,
I was gonna say.
And
field.
out in the field out here, people can walk from here to there. And maybe only wheelchair or people that have a hard time being right beside where the fire station is. And then all the rest of the people park out in beyond. So there is parking, there will be parking.
A 200-person event would be a rarity here in East Kingston.
Yeah, I think
So
yeah.
that should one be decided to be held, it's nice to have a place that will hold them, but most of our meetings are gonna be much smaller.
When we have meetings at the school for deliberative sessions, how many people do we have at our deliberative sessions?
Maybe
30, 50?
50.
50 or
If we're
more?
lucky.
Yeah.
And the school parking lot has room for that. So if you take the school parking area and stick it where the existing fire station is, yeah, I think that we could come up with it. Have we come up with that design yet? No, but you know what, I mean, I can only look at so much here that there are a lot of people that are more brighter than me that can come up with solutions that I can't come up with right now. But over the next 10, 20, 30 years, you know, there's a lot of bright people in town, and there's a lot of resources that we can get to help us out. Other questions?
I don't have a question, Denny, but I do have a comment. I can remember probably the last time I was in there was 15 years ago. And the Friends of the Library put on an event with the baked goods and birds and lots of good stuff. The mold in that place was phenomenal.
Right.
So that's one reason you could never, without doing the work, you could never do that again. And the other one is the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Look what we had to do the pound school because one of the members was in a wheelchair and it wasn't good. And so we fixed that. And I think that's what we gotta do here. And I would never have used one of those bathrooms.
I did, and I regretted it.
We had an engineering report done for ADA compliance. So we have this, so there's a lot of other things that we have done. I haven't taken the time to go over that stuff, but we do have that. I have these copies of the engineering designs for the foundation here, if anybody's interested in looking at details about that. Mr. Day.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that we are doing, that's okay, I don't need that thing. We are doing that future planning in the form of capital reserve funds. We have building maintenance and we have fire station stuff. We are looking to the future, so you shouldn't think that we haven't been doing something.
I didn't accuse anyone of that.
No.
Okay.
I think that's a good point. That's why I was saying, when I was growing up and as a young, I would never have visioned having this facility in town. I used to go to the library, which was on the second floor of the old town hall, Grange Hall, and it was a room.
Cubby hole.
Yeah, back when the selectmen had that as an office also too. So having all of these things built for one reason or another, like you say, with capital reserve funds, with funds that people are donating, with grant money, can we get to a point where, you know, the town can continue to not only grow with the people that are building new homes in town, but also the people that are running the town to be able to have places like this and be able to have all buildings that we're proud of. Are we going to get to that point? Someday. But if we don't plan now, we'll never get it. Yes. Mr. Lloyd.
You've mentioned a number of projects that, and I've lost track of which ones are firm and gonna happen, which ones are being thought about for the future. Maybe you could address that, especially relative to the amount of the bequest. I have no idea how much Mr. Johanan gave the town, and I have no idea what you've spent already.
Yeah.
So, but is the plan to spend that entire bequest down or to save some for the future or what?
Well, there's certainly a priority list that needs to be done. A critical path has to be taken as far as the building is concerned and the development of the building. We don't have enough funds to complete the project, but I'd like to think within the next year or two, we'll be getting the exterior looking better, get it stable, get the back entrance in place. Can we get bathrooms in there? Perhaps. Can we get wiring done within the next year or two? I don't know. Can we get plumbing completely done? I don't know if we have enough money for that, but there was certainly a few $1 million that was put in place to get that building further along. During the next 3 to 5 years, we'll take a look at grant money. We'll take a look at other funding that we can get. But if you're only looking 2 or 3 years ahead, you're not going to get to where the town needs to be. And so I think that, again, that there is a significant amount of money left to answer your question. Hopefully we'll get the building stable. It'll look good. And it'll be the type of structure that as people drive through town, they can say, yep, there's the town hall. If you go by the town hall, you go that distance or this distance, and then you can give directions from where the town hall is.
Beyond it just looking good.
Yeah.
When will it be usable? Do you have an idea of that?
It'd be, if I knew how much, number one, how much money needs to be generated for each thing that needs to be done along that critical path.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was
We'll
looking
get to
for.
that point and we say, okay, now it's gonna take a few more $1 million to get to that point. How do we get that money? Well, we're gonna piece it as we go. And I try not to use any tax dollars any more than we have to. But when we get to a certain point where you get to when the want gets to be more of a need, then it might be the type of thing that a capital reserve warrant article would be put in place and say, okay, we need this amount of money to finish it. Because it's not just a want now, it's a need, and we need to get this done right away. And here's what the game plan is and how it's going to affect the taxpayers of the town. So
I would like to see if you anticipate spending the entire bequest and still not having a usable building. If you're thinking of capital reserve funds, we should be starting now, not waiting until the bequest is gone.
I think that's true, and I think over the next year or so, if we can put this information together in the spreadsheet type of thing to know what needs to be done, what the costs are. Over the last year or so, we were just trying to save the building.
Yeah.
Now we're at a position where, okay, now we've saved it. Now, how are we gonna get to the end result? And I think that with some help and with some planning, I think that we'll be able to get to documents that can show what needs to be done completely. Cost estimate changes on a year-to-year basis. So, it's really a shot in the dark as to exactly how much money you're gonna need to get it usable. But we certainly can work toward that goal.
Hey, a question, this master plan stuff, is any of this material presently in our master plan? I'm long out of touch with that.
Well, here's the master plan, and you were a significant member of the planning board. Master plans, my understanding, you look 3 to 5 years ahead. You don't really look too far beyond that. So I'm thinking master plans are good. They have to be updated every 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it should be on our master plan for longer term to say, yeah, are we going to head toward a goal like this with concepts? It's just a concept I have that, fine, we've got this 5.5 acres of land. Where do we go with this 5.5 acres? We've got this. It didn't cost the taxpayers any money. Where are we going from here? We need some help, so I'm doing what I can do, and there's other people in town that certainly are helping out, and we really appreciate that. And we'll get there someday. I may not see the end result, but you know what? At least we can all say that we tried.
Have you thought about any fundraisers?
Yeah, there certainly is. We applied actually for some grant money last year. We did.
I mean, like fundraisers, like, like baked goods or, like going around to all the towns, like doing like a raffle you know, like getting the information out here, like, you know.
Those are things that are gonna have to be done. I think there would be certainly something that could be done. There's also other methods of generating income through selling bricks and things like that.
Yeah,
So there's all kinds of fundraisers that have to be done, but it takes people to
do them.
work on it and get them going.
People power.
I mean, Mr. Lloyd, look at how much work you've done to help make this facility up and running, and the ladies that run this place, it's just, we're so proud of that, and that's what we want to do. That's what we want to keep the town the way it is. That's why people want to be here. That's why you're still here. When I asked you to begin with, you know, how many people have been here for more than 10 years? You know, that's why we're here.
Well, I made it just short of your cutoff of 25, so I plan on spending the rest of my days in this town. It seems to me that the problem we're up against is when we built this library, we had a marvelous committee, and there were people willing to work on it and so forth. I think that's back in 06, 07. When we're looking at a project like this, unfortunately, between 06 and 2025, the willingness of people to work on projects or to volunteer for things seems to have gone down. I'm struggling for the various activities that I'm involved in to get people to help. And I can't do it all by myself. I know how you feel.
How many people are on your committee, Ben? You're it?
Well, when you talk, I don't know if it's an official committee.
Yeah, committee of one.
But
Strong one.
there's been a lot of help. Dan Gilmet and his wife have helped out considerably when it came time to clean things out. He's helped out quite a bit. Carrie Marshall has helped in directing because she has control of the funds and has helped to be able to say, what do we need to do right now? What do we need to do right now? And so those are the things that have been important. There's been a few other people involved. And yeah, do we need to get more people involved? That would be good. That would be good.
I don't have a solution for that, I'm sorry.
Well, you know, and East Kingston is unique like that, and you see other towns, and there's a lot of people in towns that abutting towns, and you admire the fact that they get together. But you know what, we have a lot of people that are on the Recreation Commission that deal with sporting events for the kids, and that's priority. That takes priority of our lives, our families. And to live in East Kingston and raise your family and be able to live the way you want to live in Mapleville or any of the other developments around, I think is so important. So do we have extra time to put into having meetings, you know, and having groups that put together master plans and long-term plans? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a unique problem for East Kingston. It's every town's the same.
I think that's so crazy that you're having trouble with people because like I spent some time at the library and these people come in droves. They like meet out in the parking lot and they'll come in like, you know, 10 or 20 together. Yeah, they all the parents, they come in like all together. So like harness that.
Right.
Put a harness on them.
That'll work.
Yeah, the old horse whip.
But I think, and I do think some of the nature of people moving into town has changed. It is what it is.
I can remember back before we had elderly housing in town, and I remember going to planning board meetings, Richard Smith and his group, before Roby was on the board, and we were talking about developing land and the need for affordable housing and the need for elderly housing and the ability to have an elderly housing project like this. And at the time, it was like, well, you can't just leave it open for the whole town to be elderly housing for all developments. Because it does change the character of the town. So there's been limits, and working with the planning board, put the limits on what you can, how many developments can you have, how many number of structures can you have that are elderly. And so we have a limit. And thinking about that at that time, they said, well, I remember a lot of the people said, well, if we have this, then a lot of retired people are going to be moving to East Kingston. They'll be willing to come on to these boards and help out with planning and
Really?
working on further functions for the town. So, and some people have. I mean, there's a lot of people that have stepped up. Bob's another one that, you know, stepped up and joined conservation. There's other people that have helped out with long-term working with the recycle committee. You know what I mean? Those are important things that need to be done. And so people have stepped up. And so that's a good thing. But certainly welcome all the people that live in town and stay here and maintain the character. That's the important thing. And will we get to these conceptual plans? It's just, you know, is that a wish? Is it an absolute need? Probably not right now, but it's probably still a want, but we'll get there.
Well, having the plans is a good start. At least, you know, you're projecting something out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, aspirational, that's good.
A year or two from now, or you know what, it would be pretty nice, a year or two from now, I presume to be around, that we have another group meeting like this, and I'll just be able to say, yeah, these people had some good questions. They said, yes, we need this and we need that, and we'll be able to have another meeting and say, look, here's the progress that we've made over the last 2 or 3 years. And by then we'll know how our spreadsheet will show where we're going, what needs to be done, how much more money do we need, and can we make it? Can we make it work?
I think we'll be able to make it work. I do.
Great.
I got faith.
Oh, crowd of one.
Hey, he's a committee of one, I'll be a crowd of one, so, you know.
There you go. I think it's really hard when the resources that you have to depend on, you have no commercial base in this town. And so everything has to come out of the pockets of all the individual residents, and that makes it tough.
Makes it tough, but you know what?
We
It's not impossible, though. It's just a little hard.
commercial base, but we have a golf course, we have like a general store, we have like, they
Light
have a
industrial.
flower.
Light
What?
industrial park,
We have an industrial park, we actually do have like quite.
commercial.
You have a very limited commercial base.
See, that's true, but
It
it's very
I'm
small.
not urging that. I'm just saying it's a fact. That's all I'm saying.
It's a fact, but you know, when I think about that, is over the years, we've tried to maintain taxes for people to live in town and stay in town, and a lot of people have, but look at what we've got.
Yeah.
Look at what we've got. It's the police station, the library, the buildings that have been maintained,
Kudos,
the
you've done
school.
wonderful things.
So-
No one's degrading that, any of that. I'm just saying, the reality is that there's some obstacles that are hard to
Nope.
leap over. That's all I was saying. I'm
You're right.
yeah, you've done wonderful things. I'm not knocking it.
Well, thank you all for coming today. I don't know if I've answered a lot of your questions,
No,
but I
this
hope
is
you
good.
brought you up to speed to a certain degree.
Thank you very much.
The plans are here. If you would like to take detailed looks at some of this stuff, you certainly can. I'd like to think that, you know, any of you can give me a call anytime. If we have any meetings in the future, certainly put it out for advertising, and we can probably get people involved in committees.
My compliments. This was a very good idea.
I
had
think
three
we have it
present-
more in the evening, with people that are working, younger couples.
Yeah.
I was thinking like 7 or 8.
We've recorded this session. That's why I was having you use your
Yeah.
microphone.
Yeah.
But
For
still, I
questions,
just
but
think, for
yeah,
younger-
but it's a good idea.
But that's what's
Do
gonna
another
keep the
one.
town going.
Right.
We're not gonna be here much longer, at least I'm not that much longer, so.
Where are you going?
Hopefully to heaven.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you very much. So that's,